Welcome back. The time is 6:28. Joining us here in studio this morning, we have Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen joining us. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, you bet.
Yes, of course. And you're actually here because you're making a stop during your visits with some of our local law enforcement. Tell me, what are you discussing with them and what have you learned?
Yeah, well, good morning. We're here talking about law enforcement and the crime problem in Montana. Specifically here in Yellowstone County and in Billings, but I mean this is a statewide problem. You know about this, but I've been meeting with the county attorney here in Yellowstone County, Scott Twido. I met with the police chief, Rich St. John, yesterday, and some of his major crimes and narcotics guys. Some of the State Department of Justice people at the Division of Criminal Investigation and our Forensic Science Division, which is the crime lab. And we're talking about the meth problem. It's something I campaigned about, something I talk a lot about, but it really is, I think, the biggest problem facing the state of Montana. It's the methamphetamine epidemic, and it's driving all violent crime up, unfortunately, across the state.
Yeah, and I mean, have you guys been able to come to some sort of idea or strategy to maybe help out the state and get this problem knocked down?
Well, there's certain things that we can do across the state, but I mean, unfortunately, what I tell people is we're treating a gunshot wound with a Band-Aid. We've got a southern border problem. We know 100% of the methamphetamine and the drugs coming into Montana are coming from the cartels, and they're coming from across the southern border. That's just a sad fact. So what we can do is we can talk about increased police presence. We can talk about increased resources like drug dogs. That's a big one that our police are talking about, and we're going to try to get some money out to police forces locally to help with those costs. But we've got just a huge influx of not only new people, but of illegal drugs coming into the state, and it's really driving up crime all across the state.
And we were talking off camera, usually if you're, in your own little world here in Billings and you go to work and you go home, you're usually safe for the most part, but we just recently had the situation where a man was carjacked and then shot by, it sounds like, a pretty bad guy who should have been locked away in the first place.
This was a guy who had a criminal record. He was known to the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau, the federal bureau, and he wasn't locked up. And so we have to ask the question why. But I mean, we go on and on and on. There was another shooting just a couple nights ago here in Billings, right downtown.
Right, yep.
And again, I talked to a gentleman yesterday in law enforcement who told me every single homicide he's dealt with in the last several months has to do with meth. This is what's going on here in Montana and here in Billings.
Yeah, we got to get that solved because we all just want a really nice place to live. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We really do appreciate your time and your commitment to our state and getting us all safe and taken care of.
Yep,
Thank you.
You bet. Part of the job. Thanks.
We'll be right back after this.